So I've recently come to a conclusion, and it's almost more of an epiphany, really. Over the last few days, I kind of started to realize that we really are in these last few hours, the twilight hour as I've called it before Nintendo shows us the NX. We really are on the cusp of this thing finally becoming a reality. I just know it, I feel it. Nintendo is still mum's the word, but I feel like it's really coming. And more so than anything, something that I saw today kind of made me realize that I needed to make this video while we still have a couple of days or weeks, maybe a month, to finally get our last speculative theories and discussions out about the NX. Now, what I saw today that kind of tipped me off to making this video was a video by Super Metal Dave, and I'm sure most of you guys know him. If you know my channel and you don't know his, you're crazy. Great channel, really cool dude. Chatted with him a couple of times. I know we watch each other's videos a lot. Awesome channel, much bigger than mine. He breaks a lot of interesting scoops and has a lot of cool ideas and theories and some like kind of technical know-how about how the console might actually be put together, which is really cool. He discusses almost all Nintendo stuff. So he made a video earlier today where he discussed, and this showed up on some news articles a little bit later in the day as well, but I saw his video this morning. I think he posted it yesterday, where he discussed some company that works with investment firms, or maybe even is an investment firm themselves. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me, but some firm that very likely could have some inside information. And this company was discussing in a broader meeting about Nintendo and where they're kind of, what their status is right now in the stock market. And they kind of broke the scoop that potentially the Nintendo NX is supposed to be revealed next week. There's been a lot of rumors and speculations and people's guesses about when that might actually happen. I've done it myself, a lot of other YouTubers and articles, done it on the podcast and stuff before. But for some reason, this one felt potentially true enough that it kind of sparked this inside me, like I said, to make this video and discuss this with you guys. Mostly because it kind of feels real. Everyone feels like, okay, August wasn't the time, September wasn't the time, October could be the time. Is it going to be November or beyond? I've discussed that it might be beyond November or even next year. But October really feels like the perfect month to do it. And something that I think even Super Metal Dave brought up in his video is that if it happens next week, it's also, that makes it 1 week before Nintendo's investor meeting. And a lot of people know that's coming up near the end of the month. And if that were to be the case, that might be a perfect time to reveal the system, which of course a lot of people know Nintendo did with the Wii way back in the day. Or maybe there could be some truth to this, that the Nintendo NX is going to be revealed next week before their actual investors meeting, so that at their investors meeting they have a reason to discuss where Nintendo may sit if the hype is proper and the system looks good and appealing and the price looks right. All of a sudden that investors meeting is going to be chock full of a lot more information, substantial stuff for the actual investors of Nintendo, and that meeting just might mean a lot more. So anyway, the reason that I really bring that up is because it made me realize, hey, the NX might actually be revealed as early as next week. Maybe not, but that feels pretty good. So if it's revealed next week, we have days before it would actually potentially be revealed. I believe that next week does make a lot of sense because it could be a week before that meeting. And if that's true, that means we're even closer to it. And I needed to discuss one thing in particular, and it's my biggest worry or concern for the Nintendo NX. I'm a very optimistic guy. I'm an optimistic gamer. I'm an optimistic Nintendo fan, and sometimes that's harder to do than not, but I really am. And I even get a lot of compliments and people telling me how they appreciate that I'm a very positive gamer. I have a very positive outlook on gaming, the industry, Nintendo, everything, and that's genuine. That's how I am, and I appreciate those comments when people point it out. However, I think it's still important to give a voice to the other side of the conversation, and even a voice to the other side of my opinion, because as much as I do believe, and I ultimately do of course believe, that Nintendo is making a great product, that they have a very smart idea and a smart vision for the future, where they want this business model to go, where they're going to take their current hardware, transition from the Wii U to the NX, whatever's going to happen with the 3DS and their portable stuff, however they're going to keep working with mobile, if it all works together or not. I really believe that Nintendo has a good game plan, and I think the NX is going to be impressive. I fully expect that when we see it, it's mostly going to be good stuff. I myself am prepared to be excited for it and very happy with what we see, but there's always the possibility that that doesn't happen. You know, I'm not completely blind, and I think most people would do well for themselves also not to be that way. And so I've been thinking about all these great things I think that we might see with the NX, but what about the potential bad? What is the biggest fear? The number one thing that would really, really hinder my excitement for the NX and make me feel like, oh, Nintendo, you might have made a huge mistake this time. And it would be, I've discussed this on the podcast even recently, it would be if the system was extremely casual. Now, what does that mean? I mean, a lot of that comes down to the library. The other part of it comes down to basically the marketing and the demographic that they're going for. When I think back to the Wii, I love the Wii. I think that was a great, very prosperous time for Nintendo. They took a huge gamble and a huge risk, and it paid off in spades, and I think that was wonderful. I think that the system was great for what it was. Obviously, it wasn't, part of that HD twin sort of era with what the 360 and PS3 were doing, and I love those systems as well. But what Nintendo did with it was very smart and very precise. They had a vision, and they mostly delivered on it. Now, through that came some other problems, though. All that success led to some other issues. One of the biggest ones was how third-party companies did support the Wii, but they supported it in the way wrong way. We know that was the era of shovelware. I recently was having a conversation with Terminator Juice, who runs the podcast I'm on, and he was kind of struggling to grasp really why I feel like, as great as the, fairly sizable library of quality exclusive games for the Wii was, it was vastly, extremely, overwhelmingly outnumbered by really bad games, some shoddy ports, and a crazy amount of shovelware. I mean, the ratio was outstanding in favor of, unfortunately, bad games and just games that were put out with no real substance or attention to them because they were trying to capture all those gamers, the 100 million gamers that bought into the Wii because of Wii Sports. Wii Sports was that mini game, random, just, no-face me character game where it didn't matter who you were, there was no story, there was no nothing. It was just, mini games using the motion controls, which was cool for what it was. That attracted all those gamers into the Wii era, you guys. And those people, even though they didn't end up picking up on further games, that was the big thing that kind of happened and led to the Wii U's failure. For so many years, most of the industry and a lot of these third-party companies potentially saw an audience that they could attract and they could make money off of. So you get the Wii Play games and the weird board game things and the carnival games. And, there was a couple of good brain age games made by Nintendo, but then there was a bunch of crappy offshoot ones and all of those things and beyond. I mean, there's thousands of them, these minigame collections and these Bratz games and Barbie games and all these things. I mean, it was a crap fest for a very, very long time. You want proof? Watch the Game Grumps play a bunch of the Wii games, and they do the occasional gem, but they always play really bad Wii games because it has this huge library of bad third-party games. So the reason I'm bringing all that up is that was, to me, the epitome of the casual console idea that I'm getting at here, where so many companies were making so many bad games for the wrong kind of gamer, the kind of gamer that we've heard Nintendo say they really don't want to cater to anymore. And it's why I don't even really believe that this could happen. But again, it's a possibility, and if anything, it's my biggest fear, so that's why I wanted to discuss it, despite the fact that I don't really believe it's going to happen. Miyamoto and Nintendo said a couple of years ago, we realized a lot of those gamers that we initially captured with the Wii, those are the guys that don't stick around. Those gamers aren't long-term gamers. They aren't dedicated anything beyond, the fad that it was when it first came out, and all these other games that these companies tried to make, and the things we tried to do, Nintendo, to appeal to them, they didn't care. They didn't buy into it. They didn't stick around. So the system sold like crazy, and the occasional, most of Nintendo's games sold fantastically, but everything else was crap. And when you look at those gamers not being worth Nintendo's time, it makes me worry that Nintendo would try to do that again and try to bring those gamers back. And if you do that, Nintendo showed us that there's only one way for them to do it, and it's to appeal to that casual market and that casual audience. And, it depends on what I hate to use the word gimmick, but, the innovation, the idea, the gimmick of the NX, whatever they're doing there, if it's the mobile thing, like I think it might be, that could potentially be something where Nintendo says mobile attracts all the gamers. We can bring in all those people again. And all of a sudden, we might have a situation on our hands where Nintendo is trying to bring those folks back into the fold. And what that does is it gives Nintendo potentially a reason to focus more on a gimmicky idea that isn't attractive to hardcore gamers. It also gives them potentially a reason to feel like they don't have to invest so much money in R&D into making a competently powerful machine again. And that's kind of what happened with the Wii and the Wii U. Even though I love those systems, is they saved a lot of money by making weaker hardware because they felt like certain kinds of gamers don't really care about that. And those gamers don't, it's true, but the gamers like myself, the gamers like probably most of you, and the other millions upon millions of gamers who are buying Xbox Ones, PlayStation 4s, and playing on their PC, we do care about that stuff. We want a powerful machine. We want a machine that can play sure, all the very best Nintendo games, but we want a machine that can play a next-gen version of Bayonetta and like the new Call of Duty games, and like I would like Resident Evil and Final Fantasy, Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption. I mean, beyond all these different things, Destiny, all these future games that we don't even know about yet. We want to know that those games can run properly on that machine. And if Nintendo focuses too much on the casual side again, we might have a situation where they don't make a machine that's worthy of putting those games on, or that the developers see is worth their time to do that. Again, I'm going to remind you guys here this far into the conversation that there's been way more evidence to the contrary of this happening. So again, I'm not talking about this like a reality. I'm talking about it as a maybe bad thing, but so many things have showed us that that's not going to be what Nintendo's doing. So I'm going into this thing again very positive and optimistic, but this is a fear for me. That casual thing is the one thing that I feel like if Nintendo tried to encapsulate that same business model like they did with the Wii, I don't think it can work a second time. Granted, it worked with the Wii spectacularly. It's like the third highest, best-selling, most profitable video game technology hardware ever. When you look at like the Game Boy, the DS, the PS2, it's like in that conversation of the top 3 or 4. Crazy successful. It changed who Nintendo was as a company. It changed the amount of money that they were able to make and how profitable they could be. All great stuff. But it also alienated a lot of people. It pushed a lot of people away. Unfortunately, because there were so many good games to play during that era, I feel like too many people were too afraid to jump on and play those games, which is a shame. They missed out. But it still definitely created a divide. There's no doubt that you can chart, when you look at Nintendo's history, you can chart the Nintendo before the Wii and that casual era, and after the Wii in that casual era. And granted, we're only a couple of years into the newer Wii era, for sure, but it hasn't really been too great once that ended and we moved to the Wii U. I mean, we've seen that there's less of a reason for Nintendo to see success on the casual side than there would be for them to come back and focus more on us, the traditional hardcore gamer, the Nintendo lifelong fan, the people who will always support them. I think that's what those quotes from Miyamoto a few years ago were really about. We're basically saying, we realize that the fans we kind of tried to shy away from were the ones who we should have focused on the most. Those are the gamers who would have been there spending all the money, buying all the games, devoted to us as a company, wanting to see us succeed, and giving us the right ideas for success, and I think that they've realized that. So I'm going to end this by saying and reiterating, I don't think there's any real possibility of this happening. I don't see any signs that says Nintendo's going to try to make a casual machine again. There are other things that would certainly make me unhappy with the NX. If it wasn't powerful enough, that would be unfortunate. Terminator Juice, again, he made a video a couple days ago talking about his biggest fear for the NX, which was if there was the wrong kind of mobile implementation. Those kinds of things could be very dangerous and things I don't really want. Or if the gimmicky controller is something that I don't really believe in. I believed in the Wii Remote and I believed in the gamepad, but I don't want them to make something I don't believe in and then all of a sudden, it's too bad. But those, believe it or not, are things that I could more kind of look past and give Nintendo a reason to sell me on those things, even if it was VR. I could let them, try to sell me on VR. That would be fine. But the casual thing, that's something I don't know if I could look past. I mean, if they really came out with a mega casual console that wasn't powerful enough, I would be upset. I don't even know if I'd be into it. And it would be a very sad day because I'd have to rethink my whole gaming principles and how I feel about Nintendo as a company. So again, in ending, I don't think this is going to happen. Far more signs point to the contrary. I think Nintendo's going to bring it. I think they're going to try to kill it and knock our socks off. I think they're going to have an adequately powerful machine, hopefully solid third-party support, some great first-party games, a killer reveal, awesome launch lineup, and it hopefully will just continue from there. But it all remains to be seen. So this was kind of a weird downtrodden video. I feel like I was all over the place here, but I really wanted to just kind of discuss at length, really kind of chill and comfortably laid back, discussing my biggest fear for the NX. And it's just that, man, if they go way too casual again. I don't want the Wii audience and the Wii gaming era to come back. I don't want that, and I don't think it would be good for Nintendo. So tell me what you guys think. What do you think about my biggest fear for the Nintendo NX? And what is your biggest fear? I know I typically try to have everyone talking about the positive and good things, but this is a worthy conversation, especially if we really are within, 5, 6, 7 days, 2 weeks maybe of Nintendo revealing the NX. If it really happens, we got to get the stuff out now while it's a mystery, because once it's no longer a mystery, we can't speculate anymore. And as much as we want that to happen, it also would kind of make me sad. Like I sort of missed the guessing and the theories. So anyway, tell me what you think. What do you think of my fear? What is your biggest fear? Don't forget to check out Super Metal Dave's video below if you haven't already. And this is Rob of Rule 2 Review. I'll catch you guys next time on another video.